Hello, today we are talking about rational numbers on a number line. The first example we're going to do is place 7/4 and 9/4 on a number line. Before you even write your number line, you want to figure out the values of the numbers you need to place on the number line. So we're going to take our 7/4 and we're going to turn that into a mixed fraction by using division, 7 divided by 4. Please notice that the numerator is what goes inside the division symbol when you're dividing. So 4 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. If you were changing this to a decimal, you would have to, of course, add the decimal and the zeros and keep going. But for this purpose, we don't need to. 1 in which you used to call a remainder of 3, you now put the remainder of 3 over your denominator, and you get 1 and 3/4. So 7/4 has a value of 1 and 3/4. So you should know that that's going to go between 1 and 2 on a number line. When you're looking at positive numbers, your mixed number will always go between your whole number and the next number above that. So in this case, our whole number is 1. So 1 and 3/4 is between 1 and 2. You can think of 1 and 3/4 like it's 1 plus 3/4. We're going to do the same thing for 9/4. So we're going to take our 9/4 and we're going to quickly divide that. 4 goes into 9 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. We used to call this a remainder of 1, but now we're going to say that's 2 and 1/4. So we know our two values are 1 and 3/4 and 2 and 1/4. 2 and 1/4 is, of course, going to go between 2 and 3. Here I've now created my number line. You don't need to have zeros and negatives in each one of your number line. You don't actually need to have a 1 in your number line either. You just need to make sure that the numbers you have correlate to the numbers you're going to need. I knew I didn't need any numbers less than 1 because my smallest number is 1 and 3/4. I don't need any numbers greater than 3 because my largest number is 2 and 1/4. So I just used the numbers that I needed for my number line. So I know my 1 and 3/4 goes between 1 and 2. I have broken my number line, as you'll see, into fourths because my denominator is 4. So here we have 1 and 1/4, 1 and 2/4, 1 and 3/4, 1 and 4/4, which is the same as 2. 2 and 1/4, 2 and 2/4, 2 and 3/4, 2 and 4/4, which is the same as 3. We're going to start with our 1 and 3/4. So we're just going to go to the 1 and 3/4, put a dot right at the 1 and 3/4. That is our 1 and 3/4. We're going to keep going to put our 2 and 1/4 on the number line. Put a dot right at the 2 and 1/4, 2 and 1/4 on a number line. And of course, we know that that has the same value as 7/4 and the same value as 9/4. We're going to get into talking about putting some negative rational numbers on a number line. And what I want you to remember when you're placing rational negative numbers on a number line is that any number is always going to be equal distance from 0 as its opposite. So you know that negative 9/4 would be the same distance as positive 9/4 on the number line. Since we already established that positive 9/4 was at 2 and 1/4, negative 9/4 would be at negative 2 and 1/4. Positive 9/4 is between 2 and 3. So negative 9/4 must be between negative 2 and negative 3. Any number will always be equal distance from 0 as its opposite. The next example we're going to do is placing negative 2/3 and negative 7/6 on a number line. It can often be really difficult to figure out where a negative fraction or a negative decimal would go on the number line. So what I like to do when I have these negatives is figure out where the absolute value would go on a number line and start there. So I'm going to take my negative 2/3 and I'm going to say, well, what would the absolute value of that be? The absolute value of negative 2/3 is positive 2/3. And I know 2/3 is going to be between 0 and 1 on a number line. I know that because 2/3 is obviously less than 1/3. 3/3 equals 1, so 2/3 is less than 1. And I know it's positive, so it has to be greater than 0. I'm going to do the same thing for negative 7/6. The absolute value of negative 7/6 is 7/6. Now this one's not so easy to figure out where it goes on a number line. I'm going to have to do the division, 7 divided by 6. 6 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1, so it's 1 and 1, 6. So I know that 1 and 1/6 on a number line is going to go between 1 and 2. So now I know I need my number line. I'm going to be looking at the opposites of these, right? I'm looking at the negative values. So instead of between 0 and 1, I'm really going to need between 0 and negative 1. Instead of between 1 and 2, I'm going to need between negative 1 and negative 2. Here I have my number line, and you'll notice that I've broken each integer into 6. I chose 6 because you'll notice that 6 is the least common denominator of my two denominators here, 3 and 6. So the easiest way I was going to be able to correctly place these numbers on a number line was to break my number line, each interval, into 6, because 6 is the least common denominator. I've already placed positive 2/3 and positive 7/6, even though that wasn't part of this problem. I know that negative 2/3 must be equal distance as positive 2/3. So if positive 2/3 takes up this much space, negative 2/3 must take up exactly the same amount of space going in the opposite direction. 7/6 is going to be the same thing. Since positive 7/6 takes up this much space from 0, then negative 7/6 must take up exactly the same amount of space going in the opposite direction. So now I can place those numbers on a number line. I know that positive 2/3 is between 0 and 1. Negative 2/3 is between 0 and negative 1. I'm going to go ahead and count negative 2/3, which is equivalent to negative 4/6, going in the opposite direction. So negative 1/6, negative 2/6, negative 3/6, negative 4/6, or negative 2/3 must be right here. So this is our negative 4/6, which is equivalent to negative 2/3. Now I'm going to place my negative 7/6. So again, positive 7/6 was 7/6 of the way to the right. Negative 7/6 must be 7/6 to the left. Negative 7/6 must be right here. So that's where we're going to put our negative 7/6 on the number line. All right.